Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce Lambert here. I have some very important updates about the coronavirus. First of all, do not panic. Ladies and gentlemen, do not panic. There's no reason to panic. Several important health updates about the coronavirus. First of all, masks are unnecessary. Do not hoard masks. Eye protection, unnecessary. Face protection is unnecessary. Ladies and gentlemen, do not hoard eye protection or face protection or masks. Gloves are unnecessary, ladies and gentlemen. Most of all, though, ladies and gentlemen, do not panic. Please, ladies and gentlemen, do not panic. Do not panic.
Hi, everybody. It's Bruce Lambert from HowCommunicationWorks.com. This is a channel where I teach you about communication skills so you can improve your relationships, succeed at work, be more confident, and survive the coronavirus apocalypse. In this video, I'm going to tell you about some terrible health communication that's been going around as experts try to help us protect ourselves against the coronavirus. I've made a couple of recent videos about the coronavirus, the one which was silly and had a title about the coronavirus and the zombie apocalypse had thousands of views. I'll link to it here. And the one that was serious and was a half an hour long and had facts about the coronavirus, almost nobody watched. So this one I thought I would start out with silliness. But I want to make a couple of serious points. And they have to do with this issue of fear versus empathy, or panic versus empathy, in how we talk to people about the coronavirus. I also want to talk about some hypocritical messages that simply are not going to work with people because people have common sense. So the first kind of health communication message that's driving me crazy about coronavirus is the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are basically saying some variation on do not panic. It's not cause to panic. Please do not panic. Ladies and gentlemen, don't panic. So this is just a terrible thing to say. We can understand the impulse, right? We don't want social order to break down. We still live in an interdependent society. We need one another, and we don't want, fighting in the streets over toilet paper or hand sanitizer or whatever it is. But telling people not to panic is a terrible approach to communication. This is the analogy I would make. So imagine, you're at a bar or you're in some other circumstance and there's a drunken person and they're irate and they're really upset. And what if you just come up to them and say, hey, buddy, relax, just relax. Has that ever worked for anyone in the history of the universe? Or imagine that your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your kid, your parent comes to you and they're upset and you tell them, hey, mom, just relax. Or hey, wife, just relax. Or hey, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, kid, just relax. Nobody likes that. That's never worked in the history of the universe. When you tell someone who's upset to relax, it makes them more irate. When you tell anyone how to feel, it's condescending. It's patronizing. Nobody likes it. It breaks the basic rules of empathy, which is don't tell people how to feel. In addition, nobody's panicking, at least here in the United States and everywhere else I've seen on TV. Nobody is panicking. People are concerned, of course, but they're not panicking. And so to tell people not to panic is both pointless because when you tell someone who's upset to relax, it doesn't work. When you tell someone who's scared not to panic, it doesn't work. But also because it implies there's a time to panic, but that time hasn't come yet. And stand by this channel and we'll tell you when it's time to panic. Of course, there's never a good time when panic serves us well. We always have to confront fearful situations with as much calm and as much rationality as we can muster. The other thing that I want to talk about that's driving me crazy about coronavirus messaging is the hypocrisy in it and the basic violations of common sense. So in terms of hypocrisy, for the last couple of weeks, people in the United States, at least, have been told, no need to panic about the coronavirus, but you might want to stock up a little bit on the basic necessities in case you're quarantined and confined to your house for a couple of weeks. So get some food, some medicine, some household supplies. So what do? People are trying to be good citizens. They're scared of the coronavirus, so they want to take steps to allay their anxiety. They want to protect their family. They want to care for one another. They want to be prepared. They listen to the experts who say, go stock up on toilet paper and prescription medicines and hand sanitizer and canned food and whatever else. So they go out to Costco, they stock up. And then what do you see? Stories in the news that say, consumers are panic buying. So they tell us to go out and prepare, by stocking up. When we go out and prepare, they write stories that say we're panic buying because we did exactly what they said. So this is just craziness. But the even deeper craziness, I think, is the stuff about masks. Now, they're telling us, don't buy masks. The Surgeon General of the United States came out with this message and he said, people of the United States, please stop buying masks. And there's another related set of messages saying basically, masks don't work. You should wear a mask. It stops germs from getting out. So if you get sick, wear a mask. But masks don't work to protect you from the coronavirus. The problem with this message is that we're not idiots. That's the problem with this message. So we see health professionals all around the world who take care of patients with coronavirus in full personal protective gear, not just masks, but the goggles and the face protection and the bunny suits and the gloves and the booties, the whole deal. But they're all wearing masks. All around the world, we see the president of China when he visits these areas, or anyone else when they go into these infected areas, they wear masks. When the people from the World Health Organization go into these areas, they wear masks. And the other thing we're told, which is contradictory, is that, don't buy masks. They don't work, but health professionals need them. So it's just absurd and ridiculous, and it's just an insult to our common sense and intelligence. The obvious truth is masks work to a certain extent to protect you from infection from, particles that are in the air. Or droplets that you could encounter and maybe breathe in or swallow or get in your nose or whatever. So this is obvious from common sense that masks work because they cover our mouth and our nose. I think the proper message has to be something like, yes, of course, masks work to a certain extent to protect you from the coronavirus, but health professionals, because they're around people who are shedding a lot more virus, because they're constantly in jeopardy of being infected, they need them much more than ordinary people do. A lot of ordinary people who are hoarding masks are never going to encounter anyone with coronavirus. And so in a way, the masks are wasted on them. But health professionals, all of our friends and family members and neighbors and colleagues who are doctors and nurses and pharmacists and environmental services workers and ambulance drivers and all the people that make hospitals work, they're in danger. They're in real danger, and they need the masks more than we do. So I think the message should be something like, don't hoard masks because health professionals need them more than you do. Not this craziness, insulting nonsense about masks don't work. Now, there may be some study that says masks don't work perfectly to protect you from viruses. I believe that's true. But it's obvious that at some level, masks work. So stop telling us they don't work and start trying to encourage us that we shouldn't hoard them because other people need them more than we do. So how should we deal with people's fear if telling them not to panic is a bad idea? Well, if you've watched a lot of my other videos, and I'll link to some of them above, you'll know that one of the fundamental concepts in communication for me that I think is so critically important across a wide range of circumstances is empathy. And empathy is critical here too. What we need to do is empathize with people's fears. These fears are legitimate. Thousands of people are getting sick. It's like crossed 100,000 people in the world are getting sick now. Thousands of people have died. Many of people have gotten very, very sick. Thankfully, many are just have relatively mild illnesses, though they often get pneumonia. And if you've ever had pneumonia, that's not a mild illness. So people are justifiably frightened. They're frightened for themselves, for their children, for their older relatives, for friends and family who are doctors and nurses and so on, for older relatives or friends or neighbors who have chronic diseases and may be vulnerable to this sort of thing. We're frightened. There's a lot of pictures on the news that are scary. And again, we're not stupid. So the idea that there's an infectious disease for which there's no treatment that's spreading rapidly among us, of course, this is frightening because we're not morons. So we have this natural fear. So as health communicators, what we ought to do is empathize with these fears. What that means is telling people, yes, it's frightening. It's really frightening for this new virus to be spreading among us when we don't have effective treatments. And if everybody gets sick at once, we're going to have a hard time having enough capacity to take care of everybody. So it's a frightening situation. But then we should help people channel their fears into effective precautions. So most of us live with fear all the time, right? We're afraid for our children. We're afraid for our parents. We're afraid for our jobs. We're afraid about climate change. We're afraid about the future. We're afraid of violence in our communities. We're afraid for our own health. So fear is something we live with all the time. And for the vast majority of us, it does not paralyze us. It's just something we live with. And this fear of coronavirus is also something which we will learn to live with. But it takes some time to adjust. And during this adjustment period, political leaders and public health officials need to empathize with our fears and encourage us to take certain actions that will be effective precautions for us and for the community. So this is stuff like obviously washing hands and not touching your face and stocking up on supplies in case we're quarantined, all the stuff that all of us have been hearing in the last couple of weeks. So we tell people, yes, it's natural to be afraid. You can take that fear and channel it into effective action. It's so much better as a message than don't panic, which is this condescending nonsense which we keep hearing. So empathy, as usual, is an effective communication strategy. There's lots of other aspects in a pandemic where we need to be empathic, or in any kind of crisis communication situation where empathy will come in handy. And again, this crisis communication expert, Peter Sandman, has written a great paper about how we need empathy in crisis communication, and I'll put a link to that in the description down below. I recently gave an interview on WBEZ radio in Chicago where I talked about some of these issues also, as well as comparisons to the flu. I'll link to that in the description down below also. So everybody, it's natural to be scared. I'm a little bit scared too, for myself and my family and all my colleagues who are in the health professions. I'm scared. It's uncertain. We don't know exactly how it's going to turn out, but we are going to pull through this soon, in a matter of months, maybe a year. This will all be over and behind us. Hopefully all of us will have gotten through it healthy and unscathed. But if we stick together and learn how to communicate about risk and fear, we're going to make it through together. So help one another, be kind to one another. Thanks so much for watching these videos. Go on over to howcommunicationworks.com if you want to learn more. If you give us your email, we'll send you an ebook. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of video. In the meantime, be careful, everybody. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you soon.